Welcome to Syntax. Today we're talking about WebMCP. This thing is brand new. It's a new specification, and we're going to explain what it is. We're going to show a demo, and I got a couple hot takes about it. But essentially, WebMCP is surfacing tools and ways to interact with your website via your website itself. So this is different than MCP servers, and this is different than MCP UI and MCP apps. It's related, it works in the same way, but this is a new way to surface functionality simply just through your website without having to have additional servers. So let's get on into it. My name is Wes. With me as always is Scott. How you doing, Scott?
Hey, I'm doing good. How you doing, man? I'm interested to learn about this because I hear WebMCP. My first thing goes to Chrome DevTools MCP or Agent Browser or those types of things.
Yes.
I'm curious to know.
Not that at all.
Yeah, so that in itself, to me, is a revelation here. So I'm excited to learn what this thing is and how people can take advantage of it.
Yes. All right. So all of this in context is going to be, I built a little app called a grocery app, right? And it's just a very simple, kind of like a Kanban where you have each of your grocery stores that you might want to go to. And then under each of those grocery stores, you can add, remove, and check off food items that you want to do, right? So that's pretty standard. You're going to have, if you're building out an app like this, you're going to have something like add a store, add an item, reorder items, rename, delete item, like check off, like all the standard kind of to-do list application stuff. Now, if you have an application and you want to now surface your application's functionality to some sort of AI, you kind of a couple options, right? Like one option is you can just build AI right into your application and your users can do that and you sort of like foot the bill for that. Another way is you can create a MCP server, which surfaces all of the tools, and then the AI chat will simply just talk back and forth via the MCP server, adding, removing, and whatever. And then we also learned, we had Kenzie Dodds on the other day, where we have MCP UI, or now it's called MCP apps, where you'll be able to actually return and generate, like maybe you want to embed components in like stylized structure right into a chat. This is different than that because the WebMCP essentially says, okay, I have a website, I have an app, and it does these things. And if someone were to visit my website, or if an AI were to programmatically open up a browser and it wants to use your website, right now you kind of have a couple options, which is like you can set up Playwright, and Playwright will either like dump the HTML or take the accessibility tree or take screenshots of the UI. And then it will just go ahead and like use the website as if you were a human. It'll click on buttons and whatnot. And in my experience, that's decent, but it's extremely slow to actually use because it has to like parse all of it, figure out which buttons it should press, et cetera, et cetera. So the solution to that is for your website to explicitly publish, these are the things that I can do, right? So I have a grocery list here, and I have several different tools, right? You have add item, get items, delete item, delete store, create store, get items by store, move item, all of these things. And that's not any different than like an MCP server that you would normally just publish these things. And the way that works is that you would publish these tools, and then you also define what the input and output schemas are, meaning that like you say, hey, AI, here's a tool called add item. Here is a description of what it does. And then here is the input and output schemas. This is like, if you wish to call my tool, you must provide me which item you want to add and which store you would like to add it to. And then I will then return to you the following information, right? It's a nice structured way to talk back and forth with an AI, right?
Interesting. So I've been wondering about this in regards to some projects that I've been working on. I was thinking about working on an API for my AI to consume for my habit tracker, which honestly, this feels so similar to your to-do list, your grocery list here. So this seems like that would be a better fit for that task than creating just an API and an API key and then telling the AI how to use the API, or would you do both. You would create the API and then you'd create the MCP to communicate with that API.
It depends on how you want people to interface with it. But if I'm looking at the web right now, there are millions of applications out there. And in order for an AI to interact with it right now, you either have to like publish your own MCP server and essentially like re-implement a lot of your logic as an MCP server. What this does is it allows you to imperatively or declaratively just publish as part of your website, either in the HTML or in the JavaScript, and say, these are the tools that you can then use when you visit it. So watch this example. So Chrome has published a little Chrome extension just as one example of what it might look like to interact with it. And I can simply just go to it and say, I load the page up and it says, all right, I found all of the tools. And then I hooked it up to Gemini Flash, 2.5 Flash. And I just say, please add bananas to Costco shopping list. Once that's done, show me everything on my grocery list. Oh, and can you move bananas from Costco to Whole Foods? And then I just go ahead and send it to the AI and it will parse what I need to do, look at the tools it has available to itself. And you'll see that it added bananas to Costco. And then it went ahead and moved it to the Whole Foods. And I can do something like, I might go ahead and say something like, please add all items for chicken noodle soup to Whole Foods, right? So it's going to go ahead and parse that. It's going to figure out, okay, what do I need for chicken noodle soup? And boom, it went ahead and just added chicken broth, chicken breast, egg noodles, carrots, celery, and onion. And I can say like, mark off anything with chicken. I already have it. There we go. I spelled chicken wrong. Go ahead and send that off. And it should, there we go. It marked off chicken breast and chicken broth. Yeah.
Can I just say, man, one of the benefits of AI is that like I can spell things wrong and it's just like, sure, whatever. Doesn't care.
It knows what you mean. Yeah. That's actually really fantastic.
Yeah.
So that is just like kind of like a dead simple example of how this works. And the way that the browser is able to know what the tools are is there's kind of two ways to do it. And this is the documentation for WebMCP. Essentially what you do is as part of publishing your website, you simply just publish what the tools are. And you can do that in two different ways. You can imperatively declare them with JavaScript. It's just window.navigator.model.context.register_tool, and you can go ahead and register the tool with a description, the input, and as well as the output data that you get, right? However, the other way that you can execute or sort of declare what your tools are is with form elements, which I thought this is absolutely genius. Because if your website already has like forms, or if you just want to simply declaratively publish what something can do, there's just a couple different properties that you can add. So tool name, tool description, tool param title, and tool param description. And then it will just simply parse out the HTML elements and figure out, okay, these are the things. And in this case, you don't even need to publish the schema because it can infer the schema from your form, right?
Yeah.
Which is I think is awesome that you can do it in both ways.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah,
I love that this meeting of worlds here. That's neat. And if you want to see all of the errors in your application, you'll want to check out Sentry at sentry.io/syntax. You don't want a production application out there that, well, you have no visibility into in case something is blowing up and you might not even know it. So head on over to sentry.io/syntax. Again, we've been using this tool for a long time and it totally rules. All right.
So let's talk about a couple benefits, a couple questions, and then a couple takes I have here. So the first one is this sort of mixed UI approach I really enjoy because like we had like Kenzie Dodds on and he says, yeah, like everything's going to be like a UI widget that's either embedded into your chat, or he talked about several different ways to do it. And I don't know that every single thing is going to want to just be a UI widget. Especially like you look at like booking a flight or whatever. I don't think that these people that sell flights are simply want to be distilled down into just like a utility, like you're paying a water or electrical bill,
right.
like book a flight. They want to provide you with a good experience. They want to upsell you. They want to say, oh, and not that those things can't be done inside of a chat interface, but sometimes people want to actually visit the website and use that UI. And if I'm able to now just use the website as I always have been, right? Like everything out there right now is simply just an app in a website, but then I can also interact with it with my natural language, which is way better, because if I'm adding chicken noodle soup here, I'm not adding 5 or 6 different items and dragging them into the thing. It's way faster for me just to type, hey, could you add X, Y, and Z? Or if I'm in my accounting software, I might just paste 6 or 7 transactions from a credit card and say, hey, can you add these and categorize them all?
Yeah.
That natural language is the best.
You could get further with that. If you have historical grocery lists, you could say, add all of the vegetables from last week to this week, and that's something that would be harder to do with an actual UI because you're getting into the natural language of it. If it wasn't natural language, you'd have to be building in a whole tagging system for all of the different types of things. You'd be getting into like so many things to be able to even just get that piece of functionality. I think that's really neat.
The other thing is that like this is way faster than like I've used several of these like AI interacting your browsers. And they work great when you simply just like let them rip and then you can walk away and do something else. But like if you're just sitting there waiting for it to do it because you need it, it's so slow. And there's no chance that like it was so painful using the ChatGPT browser, whatever that was called. What is it called? I don't even know what it was called. It was brutally slow. And I've used many of them in the past, and it's just way too slow right now. So being able to explicitly do it rather than try to infer it from your HTML is way better. Like watch how fast this is. Add a new store, a drugstore, add lip balm, send. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 seconds, and it added a new store and added lip balm to it, right?
Wow.
Now, that's pretty fast.
That's pretty cool. Yeah.
The other thing is that it's much more token efficient, right? If you're paying by the token for these types of things, it's simply just sending the tool calls along with the possible options to the AI rather than having to send the entire like DOM tree or like a whole screenshot and then have to go through that screenshot and figure out where the buttons are to click.
Yeah.
And then finally, like this seems ripe, whatever that is, for frameworks to implement this, right? Like you already have all of this data as part of your application, right? You already have your schemas, you already have your validation, you already have your UI later for mocking up what your forms are going to be or whatever. Simply just taking one more step and publishing those things that you can do via in your HTML website is so easy. And then this doesn't require somebody else to now spin up a second MCP server. You're not hosting anything more than just your website.
Yeah.
Now,
wow, what a neat API.
Ahead.
Yeah, no, I just I love finding out about stuff like this and then immediately understanding the utility as opposed to being like, oh, I have no idea when I would use this or how. Yeah.
A couple questions I have, and this is like just released yesterday. I'm part of the early access, so obviously this is very early and they're trying to figure out what the spec will be. But some questions I have is like, will cross apps be possible? Because one thing Kent said when we talked about MCP UI is he's like, yeah, like people don't want to just like go to one website and do their thing. Like you want to say like, grocery lists. Go look at my calendar and see when that dinner is, and then if I have any dinners planned this week, add it to my grocery. You want things to interact with each other. So will cross application stuff be possible? And I assume so, because this like little sidebar here in Chrome, this is not like the end UI for this. This is just for you to be able to test it out and debug it. Like what I assume will happen is that you will be using some sort of chat application or whatever, and very much like the MCP UI, it will simply just visit the website, discover the tools, see that you're logged in, and then it can visit several websites at a time and sort of move data between the two of them.
Yeah. Wow, cool. Wow.
Yeah. Headless, it probably will be headless. I assume it will be headless at some point. And then last thing I have here is just like my take. And I think that this is a great way for the web to adapt to AI, right? Because I don't know that you're going to get every single person under the sun to publish an MCP server and have it make an app with ChatGPT and make it work. We might. We saw it. It happened with iPhone apps, right? Everybody has an iPhone app now. So, but I think that this is a very good bridge to that space where somebody can simply just go add a couple properties to forms on their HTML or publish whatever tools they want to be available in their JavaScript bundles, and then your website is just it's ready already, right? It's similar to like responsive design where like, oh, I just need to change a little bit of things and now my website is ready for mobile. And then the other thing is like APIs. Like I don't know that every website's going to want to like surface these types of things. We saw it happen with APIs. Like very early on, every website ever had an API and anyone could go and use that API for free. Everybody was building. There was like 100 different Twitter clients. We were making mashups. Everything was totally fine. And then very slowly but surely, all of these apps were like, you know what? API access sucks. We want people to come to our site. Reddit API totally gone. The Twitter API went away and it was like $40,000 a month or something. Now they just released the ability to pay as you go, and it's like 200 requests for $1. It's still extremely expensive. Instagram, impossible to interact with it via an API, right? All of these big companies don't want you just being like, oh, sure, would you like to use us as a utility? Just interact with us this way. They want you on their platform using it in their way so they can sell you stuff and make the most money. So I don't know if this is going to be the total end game for all of this stuff, but I certainly think for people who do want AI to interact with their applications, this is a great way forward.
Yeah, I think this is neat. I'm stoked to dive in more. And thank you as always, Wes. This was a great little explainer. Yeah.
That's it. You can sign if you want to test it yourself. You can sign up for the WebMCP early preview. I'll leave links in the description below. But that's it.
Sick.
Peace.